Welcome to The Democratic Voice, your community action program dedicated to bringing you the issues that impact America and concern Colorado. Brought to you every week at this time by the El Paso County Democratic Party, your voice in the future of Colorado Springs.
Good evening and welcome to The Democratic Voice. I'm Les Thompson, sitting in for Fred Hardy, who's out of town this week. The Democratic Party in El Paso County is hard at work. We're walking precincts, we're making phone banks, we're trying to contact infrequent voting Democrats and infrequent voting unaffiliated voters to get them absentee ballots so they can vote. They can vote from the comfort of their own home. If you would like to request one of these and we haven't contacted you yet, you can reach us here at the party headquarters, 719-473-8713. Or feel free to come by our headquarters at 25 North Iowa here in Colorado Springs. The candidates are hard at work. Tony Marino, running for Senate District 11, is out walking precincts. The campaign's working hard. Mike Merrifield, running for House District 18. The campaign's well underway. P.M. Nguyen, who's running for House District 17, is looking for your votes come November. There's also Kim Barella, who's running for House District 19 down the Security Widefield area. Tim Snowden running for House District 21. That's the southwestern part of Colorado Springs and reaches down into Fremont County. Also, we have running in House District 16, Mark Entrican. Mark's looking to represent the people in that district and help make a difference, give them a voice. And tonight we have with us Charley Johnson, who's running for House District 15. Good evening, Charley, and welcome.
Good evening, Les. It's glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Charley, about your family and what you do.
Okay, Les, I'm actually a union electrician, work for Green Electric, and have for the last 2 years. I'm with the local union 113, I'm the vice president there. I'm married to my wife, Denise. We've been married 17 years. We have 3 children, Becky, Charles Jr., and Jeremy Charles. And they're all grown. We have 5 grandkids, and we have 1 more on the way. And I believe family is one of the most important things in your life. Very strong family man. And that's why I'm here. I want to support the working families in Colorado.
Good. You talk about supporting the working families here in Colorado, about making Colorado a better place to live and a better place to work. Is that why you're running? Tell us a little bit about why you're running.
Well, I haven't lived here since '97. I've noticed a lot about politics in El Paso County, and it always seems to be just one-sided. There's never any choices that you have. The only choice you ever have is between 2 of the same Republicans, and they always have the same ideas, and it always seems to me that it's kind of one-sided as far as corporate businesses. And I think that the working people in Colorado also need a voice.
Okay. So you're running based on giving the working people here in Colorado Springs a different voice, a voice that doesn't just come from business. To give working people access to the legislature to have their voices and concerns heard.
Yes, I think so, Les. I think a lot of the politicians from this area, they don't really listen to working people's issues or what they're concerned about as far as health care or decent wages and benefits and things along that line.
Okay. You mentioned health care. We've all felt a little bit about this, about the rising cost of health care, the loss of benefits, those type things. Would you like to talk a little bit about health care?
Sure, Les. I know in our local union we have a trust fund set up for all our members, and even though we keep putting more money into it, well, we just recently had a lot of our benefits cut. We're pretty much down now to just a bare bones policy that would basically just cover any kind of catastrophic illness. We don't have dental care anymore. We don't have any kind of vision plan. We don't have co-pay for doctor visits anymore. And we did attend a town meeting a while back where they were going to talk about several issues. And I think you were there too, Les.
Yeah.
And the biggest issue that was brought up, matter of fact, the only issue that they talked about while I was there, and I was there nearly for the whole meeting, was health care. Even the business people of the town, that's all they seemed to want to talk about. And there was a lot of working people there also, and everybody seemed to be focused in on one issue, and that's health care. And right now I don't hear any plans. I don't know what the government can do or what they maybe shouldn't do, but it doesn't appear that what's working now is working. So I think that if we get the new governor, Raleigh Heath, in, and get other people in that seem to be more concerned about people that can't afford health care, then maybe something can be done, because it is the #1 issue, I think, that affects all Americans right now.
It is. Health care is a big thing. We talk about the rising cost and the loss of benefits. It's something that we're all suffering. It's not just certain groups. We hope that you'll go up there and you'll work to make health care accessible for all of Colorado. For those that work and those, especially right now in this high time of unemployment, there's a lot of people. If you're unemployed, you can't afford to make your COBRA payments to maintain your health coverage, and so those people are losing their coverage and those type things. Now, I talked with you a little bit, and I know you live out in Cimarron Hills, and education's a big issue out there in Cimarron Hills. The access to schools there, I understand a lot of the people, a lot of the kids are bused to other schools. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, Les. I do live in Cimarron Hills there, and I think that neighborhood was established back in the early 60s or sometime in that area. And there is, as far as I know, there's never been a neighborhood school. There's been one talked about out there for the last 40 years, but there's never been one there. I think, from what I understand, most of the elementary kids that go to school from that area, I think they go to 3 or 4 different schools, and they're all on buses. And the same thing also with the children in middle school and high school. And they're just bused all over the city versus having any kind of school in the neighborhood or just in the area. There's also in the area where they don't have any parks that I'm aware of. And there's not a lot for these kids to do. I mean, if you spend all your time on a school bus all day going back and forth to school, then that never was a good idea to me. I mean, I did that once when I was a child. And it makes it hard as far as keeping up, because you're spending all your time on a bus.
Well, and if the Cimarron Hills neighborhood had their own school, that would help reduce the class sizes in those other schools, and this give a quality education to all of those kids.
I think that's true, Les. I think that if they did build a school there, then it would lessen the pressure on some of the other schools that do have a problem with class size. I think that's why they have to take these kids to so many different schools, is because those schools don't have any room to start with. So they just have to try to force them in the best way they can. And then I think something that needs to be done, and I think it could be done.
Okay. One of the other issues that you'd like to talk about, you mentioned, was water. Tell me what your stance is there. And
okay, I think we live, everybody knows we live kind of in a semi-arid desert state. There's not a lot of water, and I don't see any plan coming from the other side as far as a long-range plan of what to do about water. I don't see them coming forward with any plans for reservoirs or water conservation. And a lot of times government puts demands on businesses for landscaping and other things, and the landscaping that they make them put in requires a lot of water use. I mean, everybody's aware of that. You go downtown or about anywhere, so all these businesses have sprinkler systems running with water running down the street. And I think it needs to be brought to the forefront, especially now we're under there are level 2 water restrictions, and you go and visit some of the reservoirs, and you wonder, you know, if you're going to be able to drink water the rest of this summer. And I think they kind of react in a crisis mode instead of doing any kind of planning. And I think that sort of thing needs to be changed. We need to do a little more planning for the long range, and instead of just reacting to certain situations like the present administration seems to be doing.
Okay. You mentioned that you're a union electrician, that you belong to the local union here, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 113, and that you're the vice president. Would you like to talk a little bit about your duties there and your involvement in the local?
Sure. Unlike a lot of people, a lot of people get the wrong idea about what unions and what they're all about. I'm a pretty new, recent inductee into a union. Been in for about 5 years, and once I learned what was going on, I decided I wanted to be involved, because unions are about family issues, and things that do concern all working people, not just their own members. Recently I had the opportunity to be elected as vice president to the union, and I'm very honored to have that position. It does take a little more time to do a lot of the work we do, but we do stretch a lot of family issues, and the union is about family and working family issues.
So you're saying that the union lobbies on family issues. They talk to their legislators about the health care issues, about livable wage issues, things that matter to Colorado families.
Certainly, we do have things that are forefront, and I think that the biggest thing that a lot of people don't understand, because if you don't have a good livable wage, then you really don't have time for your family. You spend all your time working, and the family suffers for that, and that's why one reason that we see some of the decline in family values is the husband and the wife both have to work just to be able to survive. I mean, it's not having anything extra or anything nice. It's just to be able to put clothes on your kids' back, and be able to feed them, and just have a few things. You know, it's not anything extra. It's just being able to survive. And I remember back when I was a child, my dad, he was the breadwinner. You know, and he could earn enough money back then for us to have a pretty decent life. And I would like to see us try to go back to that kind of world.
Make it to where families could earn a living wage and be able to spend time with their kids to raise them and educate them and those type things.
Sure, because, you know, a lot of you there's always hear the term latchkey kids, you know, where both parents have to work, kids come home, nobody's there. And, you know, most kids in general are good kids, but they do need some guidance there at home. Mm-hmm. And if both parents have to work to be able to support the family, then that does create a pretty big problem for the families.
Well, you know, one piece of legislation we see just about every year here in Colorado is the right to work, or what's known to most union people is right to work for less. Would you like to tell us a little bit about right to work and what does it actually do?
Okay, now you've hit one of my hot buttons list. Right to work is not really a right to do anything. The Republican propaganda will tell you that right to work is about a choice, or whether or not you want to belong to a union. There's a lot of choices in life. You have a choice. You don't have to belong to the union. If you do decide to go to work for a contract that has a union security clause, then you should be able to see your responsibility in paying your part of the dues to support that union, as far as them representing you, as far as any grievance or any other problem that might arise that's strictly union business. But they just want to, all they want to do is make it as a choice about whether or not you want to be in a union. And that's the big lie that they put out. And I always believe that you should call, you know, if it looks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. And right to work, to me, is nothing more than a union busting tool through legislative action to break unions financially. So there won't be any collective bargaining, there won't be any union security clause, And what in effect that'll do, and the statistics are out there that prove this, and what it does is lowers the wages and the benefits of all working people, not just the people that belong to unions. And the Republicans would have you believe that the opposite is true, and that won't happen. But basically what right to work is a union busting tool to break unions.
Okay. So right to work doesn't give anybody an actual right to go to work.
No, that's the big misconception. Whoever thought that up should have royalties on sometime every time somebody mentioned the phrase right to work, because it's not a right to do anything. It's more or less just the big catchphrase that they use. And first time I ever heard it, sure, I thought everybody should have a right to work. But if you actually look into what the bill actually does and what will it do to Colorado's quality of life, then you'll see through the falsehoods that the other side can generate.
Right. Well, and you mentioned the union security clause. That right to work makes that union security clause illegal, and all the union security clause is it says if you go to work for a particular employer that you'll join the union and you'll remain with the union as long as you're employed there, right?
That's right.
And there are some objections to that, and there are people that do work in union workplaces that don't join a union because of religious beliefs and those type things. So, I mean, you do have a right to object to that, even without the right to work.
Certainly, all the things that the Republican Party talks about a right to work, people already have all those rights. You don't have to have any of your dues go for any kind of political activity. Basically, all you can do, they can kind of eliminates any kind of political activity for your dues money. But in order for a union to survive, it's just like anything else. It does have to have money, because those agreements come up. There's always lawyer fees. There's trips that have to be paid for an grievance process, and the union does have a lot of legitimate expenses that everybody should share in. That's part of the union, because everybody benefits from it.
So, right to work is more or less designed to take the voice of labor out of the legislative process. Would you like to talk a little bit about what labor unions do legislatively, what they lobby for?
Sure, Les. The unions always lobby for legislative. They want, of course, better health care for all people, not just unions, and also for better workman's comp laws, which could use quite a bit of improvement in the state of Colorado. And also unions are really big on education. You know, there's a lot of talk about the teachers' unions being bad and this and about everybody should take their money out of the private schools or out of the public school system and be able to use it in private. Well, that would be fine if there were enough private schools for everybody. Well, you know, in your own mind, you know that would be an impossibility. That's just not going to happen. And as far as school teachers, I think that's one of the most underpaid professions that there is right now. And I think we should spend a lot more money on schools and a lot more money on our teachers, because the kids are the future of this country. And I think it's time to step up to the plate and go ahead and fix the problem.
Well, and as working families, I mean, the only way our kids are going to get educated is if there's a public education system, because most working families spend what they make on day-to-day life. They don't have money to put their kids in private schools or those type things. How do you feel on that?
That's true, Les. I mean, when my kids were all at home, it was just a big financial hardship to us. So I know how hard it is to raise a family. And it's kind of tough to make ends meet if you're just working for a living and trying to get by. And you spend most of your time working and worrying about your family and taking care of those. And I think the public school system is the best system that we have as far as the education. I think if you want to put your kids in private school, that's fine. But I also think that the public school system is where the majority of the kids are going to be educated. So we do need to have a good public education system with the best teachers that we can get. And I think just like a lot of people said that teachers aren't held accountable. Well, if that's true, then we should hold them accountable and get the best teachers, but I think they should also pay for the best teachers. It's like with anything else, you're going to pay for what you get. If you want cheap education, then that's what you'll get, is cheap education. And you won't get quality teachers because they won't be able to survive either.
Right. It's, in order to attract and retain the best educators, you need to pay decent wages, decent benefits, and treat them decently.
That's true, because you know, you hear talk that well, we all know the teachers in Colorado just don't make enough money. I don't know how they even survive with the starting salary that they start out on. It would be really, really tough. And I have a lot of respect for school teachers, and most of them that are in it, you know, they're not in it for the money. They're in it because they love what they're doing, and they want to educate the children of this country.
They're a hard time. Well, thank you, Charlie. So when you're elected, I mean, you're going to be up there representing the people in House District 15 on health care issues, education issues, water issues, and of course the right to work, which just doesn't affect the labor unions. It affects all of Colorado's working people, all of our working families. But we thank you for being here tonight. Right now, if we want to get hold of you, we can contact you through the El Paso County Democratic Party, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and that's 719-473-8713. You can call and get Charlie's contact information. Of course, the El Paso County Democratic Party can always use your help. If we're going to make a difference here in El Paso County, we need to get out and we need to be active as Democrats. The coordinated campaign can use your help doing phone banks in the evenings or walking precincts in the evenings and on the weekends. Once again, to contact the El Paso County Democratic Party, you can reach us here at 719-473-8713, or you can come by the headquarters at 25 North Iowa. Charlie, thank you for being here this
Thank you,
evening.
Les.
Thank you.
Now, so let's tell